Hi, parents. It's Elmika Henderson, the school counselor, here with another webinar to aid you through this distance learning, homeschooling, quarantine kind of state that we're in right now. Today's webinar is entitled How to Talk to Your Kids About Online Safety and Etiquette. Now, our kids are online way more than they ever have been. And I think that it's really important to have conversations with your kids about, how they're engaging online, but then also ways that they can stay safe, you know. Good parenting means, having really tough conversation, and there's really no way around it. Whether you're facing, a global cataclysm like, COVID-19, the global pandemic, or if it is helping your kids work through, a personal brush with bullies, or if it's just simply time to start talking to your kids about, relationships and sex. There's no shortage of big and overwhelming and uncomfortable conversations. And for most parents, you know, in all of these big conversations, there is missing, one of the most important conversations that we can have with our kids, and that is having a talk about technology. There are very few things in this world that will shape our kids' lives quite like the internet, from social media to multiplayer games, to online shopping. The online world offers many landmines as much as it does opportunities for kids and us and parents. Um, they're often confronted with pressure from well meaning and also not so well meaning friends. There is the attention economy and also people who mean them actual harm. Kids need some guidance in navigating, what's going on the internet. And we as parents, we need to be clear about the boundaries that we're setting while also opening a discussion that enlightens our kids and builds trust. While we're doing that, we as parents need to keep up with emerging trends and technologies and, a world that we can barely know. Our kids kind of know the internet and technology a little bit better than us sometimes. But it's really important for us to stay on top of all of that. Luckily, today's webinar is going to offer some tips for you on how you can initiate that conversation with your kids and help them to kind of become a better internet citizen, or digital citizen. And you might have a little bit of peace of mind when your kids kind of go online. So, first, we're going to start with sharing with care. So, there are some things that your kids would put online, but there are many other things that they shouldn't. So, first, we're going to start with teaching our kids how to share with care. So, there are some things your kids should put online, but there are many other things that they should not. Funny videos and harmless memes, absolutely. But anything might reflect poorly on them. This is what we're trying to avoid. So, some talking points that we have are, you know, telling your kids not to share anything that's too personal. So they shouldn't really be saying, their full name and their address and where they live and their phone numbers and things like that. You know, that there are better ways to talk about sensitive things with a small, trusted group of people, and helping our kids know who our friends are and what a good friend means will help kind of identify, who are the people that wish us well and are looking out for our well being. Our kids find it really difficult to differentiate between their online friends and their real life friends. In the transient nature of being in international schools or being part of a community that is frequently moving and changing places, I have plenty of friends that are, my quote unquote online friends, people that I've met in, Facebook groups or have met while traveling and things that aren't really the friends that I have kind of, face to face, or just people that I've connected with through social media. Kids have a really hard time of differentiating, between who their friends are in real life and who they are online. Just making sure that they understand what that is and protecting that sensitive information to kind of the people that we know and can actually identify, not just our friend through, Roblox. You also want to tell them not to share anything that might hurt someone else's feelings, um, not to share a picture, an embarrassing picture that a friend sent them, or, send any, share any secrets or anything. One rule of thumb that I tell my students when we're talking about, respecting someone and consent is if it doesn't belong to me, whether it's the information or the photo, then I don't have permission to share it. I want you to also kind of talk to your kids and tell them that act as if everything that you post will be online forever and seen by every single person that you know. That, while there are social media sites and you might be able to delete things after a certain period of time, that doesn't stop people from sharing them on their page or taking photos of something that you've shared online. And the internet, it's really, really hard to get things off of it. So once it's out there, we want our kids to get used to the idea that it's there forever, that there's no way of taking it back. One of the things that you want to kind of keep in mind also is the way that you share information. So remember when you shared your kids' baby pictures on Instagram? Well, your kids definitely do, and they're probably not too happy about it. I want you to use this opportunity to talk with them about what's okay to share and with whom, even if that means asking permission to share any family photos, especially when they are at that, age of being able to speak up and be able to tell you what's embarrassing and what's not. Respecting them and respecting, their privacy, even though they're your kids and you think that that adorable bathroom, bathtub photo was so cute to share with all of your friends and family on Facebook, your child may not think that that's okay. And so by having them or giving them the permission to create that agency over what images or what information of theirs that you share, you also are teaching them how to respect others' privacy and respecting kind of that information. You know, remembering that whatever you post of them online may live on forever. So we want to be thoughtful about what we share. This also will invite a healthy discussion about communicating responsibility online, communicating responsibly online. You also want to teach our kids how to be aware of scams and scammers. Everyone who logs on is a potential mark for a scammer. You sit down If you sit down as a family and search for something that your kid wants to learn about, it could be, you know, koala bears. And so go to Google and search koala bears and go through the results and clicking on some of the top results, but then also going through a few of the pages and looking at those buried a little bit deeper. In doing this, I want you to discuss which look safe and which look a little bit sketchy and why. Some of the talking points for this discussion can be, keeping an eye on your browser's security alerts. So sometimes when you're about to you go to a website, that if it's a secure website, then there is typically an icon in the address bar on the left-hand side that tells you what site is secure and what's not. So it looks like a little lock. If there's no lock icon, then it might be a risky site. Also, there's sometimes when you click on something, when you're on a trusted site, you may click on something and your browser may kind of warn you and say, are you sure you want to go to this site? Are you sure you want to download this thing? Pay attention to those and teach your kids to kind of, keep an eye out for those things. You also want to check the address and make sure it's, google.com and not some other site. There's a lot of sites out there that are meant to imitate a real site, and you want to make sure that you are going to the correct site. Sometimes, if I'm typing too quickly, then I may go to a wrong site. But just making sure that even if you end up accidentally on a site, you're not clicking through it and investigating. That may lead you, down a path where your computer is particularly vulnerable. And also, if it's too good to be true, it probably is. Letting your kids know that no one is really going to give you a free smartphone, no matter no matter what the banner ad says. So making sure that they're not falling prey to those types of advertisements, that if they send the website or send that email to a certain number of people, then they'll get this free item. That almost never happens. And so you want to make sure that you're telling your kids, what to be aware of so that they don't kind of fall prey to these things. Um, an important kind of part of this conversation as well is if you've ever been scammed, tell your kids about it. While it's a little bit embarrassing or you might cringe, they'll likely understand that everyone can be susceptible and that getting scammed doesn't really make you dumb. There are plenty of people that are intelligent and successful people. I mean, you can pick a handful of celebrities and world leaders and even, heads of the world's largest internet companies who've had their private information exposed to the public. So, really reinforcing to your children that anyone can fall prey to a scam or have their security breached in some way. Speaking of security, you want to teach your kids how to secure their secrets. Tell your kids that the passwords that they use are like the locks on the front door. The stronger they are, the better protected everyone and everything inside will be. So, are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 or password the strongest passwords? Of course not. They're both simple and easy to guess, and they invite others to steal important information from you or pretend that they are you. Some talking points for this part of the discussion are, making sure that your kids understand that strong passwords have numbers, symbols, uppercase and lowercase letters. A mixture of all of these that don't really resemble actual words, but something that, they can kind of figure out on their own, or it can be like a guessing game. Making sure you kind of write these things down instead of, you know, using the same password over and over again. It's not particularly safe to use the same password for your banking information as that of your email. Email accounts are the easiest to get hacked, and then once they figure out that one and get into your system, they kind of use the same password just so that they can get through everything. So it's important to kind of change your passwords often, but then also making sure that all of your passwords are not the same for every single site that you have, or your email addresses, or your bank information, or all of the different, websites and things that you log into. What I like to do is whenever I change my I make it a habit to change my password pretty regularly, like every 30 to 60 days. And what I do is I use um, my computer's kind of encrypted password manager that keeps the passwords for me, but then it also generates the password for me. So whenever I'm creating an account with something online, um, I ask it to generate a strong password and it keeps it online. It keeps it kind of encrypted in my computer so that whenever I visit the website, it tells me exactly what the password is so that I don't have to remember a really complicated password. But then it also kind of makes it stronger than something I could even ever think of. Um, so, in this conversation, you also want to talk to your kids about not sharing their passwords to their accounts or social media apps with their friends or anyone really. Um, you know, well, not just anyone. Parents should have their kids' passwords. I think that no matter what the age is, I think that parents should always have access to their child's account. So whether they are 10 years old or 15, I think that parents should have access to it, not necessarily to, snoop and be nosy, but it is to protect them and make sure that they are, if they ever get in trouble, you're their guardian. And so you should be able to have access to those accounts if you need them. But I would say that creating that trusting environment so that your kid feels comfortable with you having the password, and that's respecting their privacy, and keeping that keeping that conversation open if you need to go into their accounts and letting them know beforehand. I think that is really important with kind of building trust, and especially when they're online, and if they do get in trouble, they do come to you. So be kind and positive online and in the real world. So for some kids, going online can feel like stepping into another separate world, but the reality is that the online world is the real world, and we shouldn't treat the two any differently. Some talking points for this part of the conversation is treat people as you would want to be treated, even if they're people that you don't know in the real world. Asking your kids to always be kind online, whether they know the person or not. Sometimes social media creates this mask for you to put on this kind of act of bravery that you wouldn't do with someone online. But what I tell the students is, don't say anything online or in a chat room or in a comment section that you wouldn't normally say to someone to their face. Because online there's no immediate consequence to calling someone a bad name, but in real life there might be, that person might get angry, they might tell an adult, or worse, they might hit you. Don't be afraid to use the buttons on every social media site that lets you report abusive or inappropriate content. Telling your kids that it's not tattling to report a page that is offensive, um, whether it is, offensive or abusive or has inappropriate content when it shouldn't, or if someone is posting abusive or inappropriate content. These buttons are here for a reason to keep these communities safe for everyone. And so by telling your child, you're empowering them to kind of make their overall online experience a little bit safer for them. Helping your kids cope when they are angry is kind of, well, is a really important thing to remember right now. Letting them know that it's a really bad idea to post anything while they're angry or upset with someone. That taking some time and backing away from the internet or the computer is a really good idea. Reminding them that everything that they put online is forever, and even when they say something while they're angry, they can't take it back. And it's even more of an impact when it's online and it doesn't go away. It's like you're repeating those words over and over again. And that can be particularly harmful for the person on the receiving end, you know? Um, in all of this, like, have a conversation with your kids about the ways that they can spread kindness and positivity online. So this can be by posting uplifting comments. This could be by sharing, a really positive meme, especially in, this really kind of uncertain and really sad kind of time that we're living in, that people are always looking for positivity. And so, talking with them about how we can contribute to the kindness in the world online, because everyone is kind of social distancing and staying home, that now more than ever, we need that positivity online. Also talk with your kids about negative behavior online, what it might look like, and having a protocol in the event that your kids see or experience negative behavior online. What are they going to do? Are they going to respond to it? Are they going to tell you about it? But just keeping, that conversation open of how they can respond to things and prepare them for them So when they actually happen, the kids kind of automatically know how to respond. So as your talk kind of nears its conclusion, and this can be broken up into a lot of different conversations, um, or one big sit down. It's totally up to you. But as you come to the end of each conversation, you want to make sure that you end on a forward thinking note. So this isn't really a one-time chat after all, but the beginning of a long-term conversation about being safe online, especially as your kids get older and they grow and develop, and their online use becomes a bit more sophisticated than just going on Roblox. The point here is not to come with a series of lectures on various aspects of the internet and how to be safe, but to find out what they're dealing with online now, and offer some helpful advice for them. So, some talking points for this part of the conversation is when in doubt, talk it out. If your kid ever comes across anything that makes them feel upset or uncomfortable or think is inappropriate, it's best to tell a trusted adult. So, as a family, you guys define what those unknowns are and you establish what should be shared with an adult. It's the same conversation that we have with them, that if face to face someone makes you feel uncomfortable, what it is you should be doing. You want to kind of extend that conversation to online, that if someone makes them feel uncomfortable or upsets you, that's not okay. And you should seek the help of a trusted adult. You promise them a no judgment or no freak out reaction to anything they want to bring up. I know it's a hard thing to promise to your kids, but no matter how worrisome the omission, you have to deliver on that promise. This is the best way to keep open and honest communication with your kids. Also, talk to them about what to do if you're not around. So, if they're online during the school day, who should they reach out to? I've had students that have witnessed some really uncomfortable conversation in some of their Google Hangout chats, and they've reached out to me and said, Miss Almika, this makes me uncomfortable, and they'll send me the screenshot so I can talk to the kids about it. Having that conversation with them so that your kids know who they can reach out to when they're experiencing some difficulty with a friend online, or if there's just something that really makes them uncomfortable, you know? But please know that your kid might be embarrassed to tell you that they, used your credit card and spent $50 on, Roblox bucks, or, posted something that they shouldn't have. While it's an incentive to keep quiet, they won't get in trouble, like they won't be embarrassed. Um, Keeping this thing from you could potentially exacerbate whatever the issue is. So you want to avoid that outcome. So make sure that, it's clear that it's your job to help and not judge and punish. There's a resource that is out there to help you. It is created by Google, and it is called Be Internet Awesome. So, to make the most of the internet, kids need to be prepared to make smart decisions. Be Internet Awesome teaches kids the fundamentals of digital citizenship and safety so that they can explore the online world with confidence. So, this is the website, and I will put the link in to the description when I post it on the website. But this is the website. Um, So you can scroll down, and there are all these different resources for parents and to do with their kids, but then also educators. And so there is the game that you can play with them online that teaches them, all the different components that we talked about. So, share with care and don't fall for fake, and, all of these different things that we just went over. Google has created kind of this online platform for parents to talk to their kids about online safety, but then also does it in this really fun and interactive way that you can play the game with your kids, but they're also learning about internet safety. So I invite you to look through the website and see what works for you. And if you need any help with talking to your kids, if you find that if you find that you need some help with having this conversation with your child, definitely reach out to me. My email is, here. I also have parent office hours every Wednesday. But definitely, if you're experiencing any difficulty right now, especially with online safety or have concerns, please definitely let me know. And I will do the best that I can to support you and your child. So, thank you so much for tuning into this particular webinar. And I hope that you all are staying safe and are well. But I will see you at the next one. Thanks.